This rifle does not shoot well. You're going to want to check out the last video that I did with Jim Harmer.
Yeah, looking forward to talking to you, except I'm not looking forward to having a discussion about this rifle because it is the bane of my existence.
We had a discussion about both of our experiences with this rifle, but what I wanted to do was to shoot a group to show you just where we're starting with this project. Not a very pleasant rifle to shoot. Trigger guard was hitting my hand there, my rear bag hand, and I think those results speak for themselves. This is literally the worst shooting bolt action rifle I've had my hands on, and I think Jim would agree. Let's go down to the target and just see how bad the damage is. So what we've got here is 3.8 inches, so the general trend of 2 to 4 inches is holding up here. That is really bad. So I want to show you exactly what we're working with here. If we take the rifle out of the stock, you'll see that we have kind of a peculiar situation with the general challenge of the bedding for this rifle. So I'm going to take the action screws out. We'll remove the barreled action from the stock. There we go. And what's sitting in here, if you can see this, is kind of like a plastic version of a bottom metal. And the challenge there is that it sits on top and there's this almost corrugation on the bottom. It almost looks a little bit like a Picatinny rail. So we have all the action screw torque sort of compressing this area, and I'm just not convinced that that's gonna work out the way that I want it to work out. So here we have a rifle that I'm guessing the bore is bad, and we have a stock that's not really giving us what we need. I really want to turn this into a rifle that is gonna be pleasant to shoot and is gonna be a tack driver. So we're looking at a total rebuild here. Let's go to the studio and check out my brainstorming process and the components that we've ended up with. If you want to learn hands-on gunsmithing, and if you want to learn from an entire body of instructors that have, some of them up to 40 years plus of experience, you gotta go to the Colorado School of Trades, schooloftrades.edu. For this project, the folks over at OTM Tactical, who I have purchased barrels from in the past, were kind enough to send us this barrel blank. This is a 6mm 1 7.5 twist Krieger. If you're looking for actions, barrels, stocks, triggers, that kind of thing, you're going to want to go over to OTM Tactical. And if you use our UR5 discount code, you're going to get 5% off. Great company. So back to the situation at hand. I formally made the decision after taking all of this apart that we were going to abandon the wood stock, the plastic bottom metal, and the factory magazine. This is a little bit ridiculous. At this point, we're kind of down to, we're going to use the action itself. But that's fine. We're having fun here, and we're going to stop at nothing to make this rifle shoot right and for it to be an enjoyable platform, right? I've got Evolution Gunworks rail that we're going to upgrade these Weaver rail sections with. I found MDT makes the LSS Gen 2 with a Mossberg Patriot inlet, right? This is CNC machined aluminum. Now we've got a bedding situation that I can definitely give the thumbs up to. And then I decided on 6-dasher for our cartridge. 6-dasher is a winning formula. I've already built a rifle here on the channel, and that's kind of what I'm emulating with this barrel. 26-inch finished length, 1 7.5 twist. It's going to be absolutely awesome. So with MDT supporting the Mossberg Patriot in a platform that's going to take an AICS magazine, that solves a lot of my problems. This is the other thing. The Dasher is a little shorter. It doesn't feed out of a 308 or 6.5 Creedmoor oriented magazine. This is a 6BR all metal mag from MDT. That's going to solve that problem, right? We've also got the SCS buttstock. This is the skeletonized carbine system. We're going to go with this 8.5 inch M-LOK Arca rail to give our bipod a place to live on the bottom, and then throw a bag rider on here for testing off the bench, because I really do want to see how well this rifle can do. Let's talk real quick about the factory barrel, right? This is a 22-inch barrel. Like I said, we ended up at 26 inches. And to get that factory barrel off was a job. I put it in the barrel vise. I was spinning in the barrel vise, so I heated everything up, heated up the barrel nut, and I gave it a wrap with a drift punch. It's got this sort of spanner set up here. It was totally obvious that that wasn't going to be adequate the way I was holding, you know, the receiver. So what I did was I doubled up my drywall tape. I clamped it down in the Short Action Customs Bravo barrel vise, torqued it absolutely down, torqued it, and proceeded to beat on it with an external action wrench. I believe it was my Winchester Model 70 type, and the action finally yielded from the barrel. And what we're looking at here is kind of similar to a Remington 700 action, you know, except with the exception of the floating bolt head. You know, we've got a two-lug design, we've got a separate non-pinned recoil lug, and you know, it's a matter of doing the math. Threading is a little bit different than a Remington 700. Remington 700 is 1 1/16 by 16 threads per inch. This is 1 1/16 by 20 threads per inch. So this barrel work went very smoothly. It's kind of overall my standard job. I started on the breech end. This time we're using the Precision Matthews PM1440 HVT2. This is my newest metal lathe. It's got variable speed. It's a lot heavier than other 1440 lathes. This thing is a beast. It's absolutely awesome. The barrel blank was carefully dialed in on the lathe. I faced the end of the tenon, turned the tenon down to diameter, cut my thread relief on the inboard side, cut the shoulder, and then went about threading. After the threading, I transitioned to chambering. The chambering process was smooth and straightforward, and I was able to hit headspace dead on. So then the barrel gets spun around in the lathe. Whoosh, now we're working on this side. Before mounting it in the lathe, I had to cut on the bandsaw the extra barrel material off the end to bring us down to 26 inches finished length. Faced the end of the barrel, got it pre-indicated, and essentially repeated the process in miniature that I did on the breech end. Turning the tenon, facing the end, cutting the thread relief, and threading for 5/8 24. So now this barrel is essentially done. It is going to get Cerakote, and it's going to get laser engraved once we put the entire rifle together. Okay, so that brings us up to this point in the process. Next, I'm going to do some disassembly on the SCS buttstock and get some Cerakote going on this. And when I come back, I'll show you what we've come up with. So here it is. The Cerakote is done, and it turned out absolutely awesome. If I hold up the barrel, we can kind of see what this is going to look like when the rifle gets assembled. Really killer color scheme. I was thinking kind of an OD green at first, but then I looked at this H345 multicam dark gray, and this is the H series, starting with H, and I thought, I think this would be even better. I haven't used this color on a rifle that I've shown on the channel yet, and amazing result. So the steps, basically complete disassembly of everything, including the magazines. You can see here that we have these 6BR mags from MDT. I took out the internal components and the bottom plate and coated them separately. Everything got disassembled and put into the acetone tank. We want to make sure everything's completely degreased. We blasted with 100 grit aluminum oxide, racked everything out, and this time I tried a different technique with spraying that worked really well, something that I actually saw at a rifle OEM. So instead of hanging the main chassis section, I actually used this buffer tube. I taped it off and used it kind of like the handle on a lightsaber, and that made it really easy to kind of get into all of the cut-in areas that I like to do first, and then to go with the full coats as you're laying down the bulk of the material. And I actually had a screw in the end so that I could hang it as well. That worked absolutely perfect. So I actually might fabricate some dedicated handles for any of the AR type stuff, whether it be a chassis like this or an actual AR lower, something like that. So we also did this grip. It turns out this grip is not compatible because of this sort of beaver tail area right here. I could probably cut it off and make it work, but I kind of like the black MDT rubber grip better. But this was a great opportunity for us to try out both ovens at once. We had one going at 150 for the polymer, and then one at 250 for the metal components. They both cured for 2 hours. Got the parts out, let them cool down, and did a final assembly. So, that takes us to where we're at now. If you're interested in super high quality booth and oven equipment, Built American. We've got this UR5 code. You can save 5% site-wide. This equipment is helping me take my game to the next level. And the results speak for themselves. So at this point, it's time to do final assembly on the rifle and get this rifle broken in. I cannot wait to see how it's going to shoot. So we got everything torn down. Rifle is ready to go shooting at the ridgeline. But before we head up there, I just wanted to give kind of a quick summary of the 100-yard shooting results. So to review, before we had a 3.8-inch group. That's how we started the video, with 308 Winchester. And with the 6-dasher configuration, our first group went into, so this is the sighter that was from the bore sight. The first 3 rounds went into .667. This is with Berger 109s, some match ammo that we had from another loader here at Ultimate Reloader. And then the second Berger 109 load went into .593. Then we had a pierced primer. We were troubleshooting some of the issues with that Berger 109 ammo, and we determined that it was a little hot for this potentially firing pin configuration, something like that. I don't think it was piercing on the other gun. And then we switched to Burger 105. So here's a .457 group, sub half MOA with no load development. That's pretty awesome. And then the last group, we had a little bit more windage. I think we were having some definite mirage and wind stuff going on there. 0.620 inches. So a drastic improvement on paper, and I think a little bit of load development will really help this rifle get tuned to perfection. But we have some speed data. It was 2750 feet per second that we were seeing with our 30 grains of varget behind a Burger 105. That means we're ready to head to the ridgeline, have some fun. While the rifle was shooting awesome long range, I did have some problems with ejection. The brass was pulled out of the chamber and would sit on top of the magazine. This was an issue I would address later.
Yeah.
Impact. Too much wind. That's a great sound. There it is. Nice. Okay, so you might have noticed in the previous shooting segment that we were having some issues with ejection. I did a little work on the rifle. We've got a 400-yard set of targets here. Let's see if we've properly addressed the issue. I'm up 1.7. Nice. Let's go for the coyote. I think I went under him there. Why is that so fun? Seriously. Good angle there. I wish that was a real coyote. This dash would be great. Wow. Okay. Things are looking a lot better. Well, this project has been a ton of fun. Let me talk real briefly about what I did. We were having the ejection issues when we were shooting previously in the video. Extractor claw actually was kind of rough, so I had to polish that. And I did a little bit of spring tuning on the ejector plunger. It was a little aggressive potentially. I talked to Gordy Gritters and he was saying if we back off the spring rate a little bit, I cut a coil and I did a little polishing to reduce the diameter of the individual spring coils. That gives the spent shell casing a little bit more time to come to the opening before it flicks out and disengages from the extractor claw. So I don't know if the fiddling is completely done. I'm going to shoot the rifle some more and see if it holds steady. I'm also going to take a look at some possible laser engraving. What's next is to see what Jim Harmer thinks of this misbehaving Mossberg Patriot. Is he going to like it? Without further ado, I'm going to show you the result here. I'm kind of thinking about sending it to him to have him shoot it and see if this really is redemption. What I'd like to know is, what do you think about this crazy Mossberg Patriot rebuild? It was a little insane. We went pretty far with it. A little bit ridiculous, but that's okay. I'm having fun, and this thing is now a certified tack driver. Do you have a Mossberg Patriot? Do you have one of the newer models that actually comes in the MDT LSS? Drop a comment, share your opinions about what you think about what I did with the build and your own experiences with the Mossberg Patriot or anything else you want to talk about. Let's start that discussion. That concludes this video, and that means it's time to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. If you're interested in custom rifles like what we build here on the channel or gunsmithing services, you're going to want to go to rifles.ultimatereloader.com and get on the wait list. If you want to learn lucrative gunsmithing like what I show here on the channel, including building custom rifles and Cerakote plus a whole bunch more, you're going to want to check out the Colorado School of Trades, schooloftrades.edu. Thanks again for watching.